Good afternoon. Welcome once again to another episode of B&B Hockey Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Bloxel, with my co-host, Mr. Matthew Balzer. Today, we are going to share our predictions on the NHL awards, along with our choice of Western, Eastern Conference champions and the Stanley Cup champions. So remember to like and share us, comment below on what your picks are for the upcoming NHL season, as we're less than a week away before some of the NHL training camps get started. And, of course, some of the prospect camps starting in just a couple of days. Everybody is excited because hockey is finally coming back and is almost here. So let's get started. Today we're going to jump right in. Matt, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Pretty pumped to talk about all these predictions. You never know who's going to win, especially last year when you come down to some of those major awards. Some of those guys, like you wouldn't even have predicted any of those guys making even like a top 10 list for some of them.
For sure. Let's get right into it because we got a lot of trophies to cover. And start off with the Art Ross Trophy, I guess Art Ross or Hart. When would you want to start with?
Yeah, we'll start with Art Ross. I think the Hart will save for last because that's always the biggest award of the night.
All right.
The Art Ross. This guy could probably continually win it every single year. It's going to be Connor McDavid. Like there's nobody else that can even come close to McDavid. I think this guy is going to get to the 50 goal mark this year and possibly push to the 120-point mark. I think this guy is like sort of crazy to think he's only been in the league for only 3 years, and this guy is just going to continually to get better. But I'm thinking that you can get to that 120-point mark this year.
He's also my choice for the Art Ross because there's no stopping this guy. I think 110 points is where he's going to finish. And that's also my selection. So we're anonymous for that one. Good start. Do you want to? Are we going to touch on backups, or let's just keep going on winners?
I think for more of the major awards, I think we'll talk about the ones.
Rocket Richard. Let's go with the most goals. Who do you got?
So I'm still going to go with the grand champion for this, Ovechkin. But there are a couple of guys that will be pushing for that top spot. I think Patrick Laine and even Austin Matthews, if he stays healthy for the entire year, I think they can both push Ovechkin for the most goals this year.
I also have the grade 8 as the favorite to win that, although I do have Patrick Laine and Vancouver's very own Brock Besser pushing that mark. So let's go with the Lady Bing.
Lady Bean, I think it has to be Ryan O'Reilly this year. I think if you want to talk about
three, can you believe it?
Yeah, Mr. Consistent. He only took one penalty last year, the entire year. But you talk about a guy that plays top 6 minutes. He continually puts up 60 points a year, usually checking the team's top line center on every night. It's just incredible. What this guy can do. Like William Karlsson won it last year. But I think there's a couple other guys that could possibly push, like Barkov, or I think even a Logan Couture, possibly. But I think it's O'Reilly's year this year.
I also have Ryan O'Reilly, and I think Anze Kopitar can be talked about as a guy that can push for that award as well. Let's jump into. Why don't you pick one?
All right, let's go with the feel-good story that we usually go with, the Masterton Trophy. I think there's a couple of guys that will really be deserving of this trophy. Patrick Eaves, it looks like he'll finally be back with the Ducks with all his health scare last year. Looks like he'll be back on the ice. And from the St. Louis Blues, Robbie Fabry, back-to-back ACL tears. If this guy stays healthy and has a good productive year, I think those would be the two guys I'd be looking for to win the Masters.
I think Patrick Eaves as well. Perhaps Ilya Kovalchuk's name ends up on that list as he returns to the NHL, but that one, tough to say because you don't know a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes with that award. So All right, you picked a tough one there. Well, let's go with the Selkie.
All right. So usually Patrice Bergeron is basically the name that you can probably say, and you'll win. But just because the NHL, they really like to shake things up here and there. I put Sean Couturier as my winner for this coming season. Though guys like Bergeron and I think Alexander Barkov will also be pushing just because the NHL really likes to get different names. But I think it's Couturier's year. He had a great offensive year last year, and including going up head to head against teams' top guys and shutting them down.
Anze Kopitar, of course, won last year.
Mm.
I believe he has a shot at it again this year, but I also have Patrice Bergeron winning that award as long as he stays healthy. He'll always be in the talk for that award. Let's talk about the Jack Adams for Coach of the Year. Who do you got?
Okay, let's see. I got a few here. I think Paul Maurice.
Pick one.
Okay. Oh man, I think it might be Paul Maurice's year. I think with Winnipeg. I think last year he finally got everything going in the right direction and the team playing consistently. Though they're usually with this award. Usually it's like the biggest turnaround sort of thing. So I think Barry Trotz, if he turns the Islanders around, could be another name.
Bill Peters is also on my list as a guy because he could turn the Calgary Flames around. I think Calgary will have a much better season this year, but I have Peter Laviolette as winning the award. As Nashville, I think, is going to be neck and neck with Winnipeg in the Western Conference. All right, let's talk. We just talked about the coaches. Let's talk about the general managers. Who do you got?
Great. So I think for the general manager, I think it could go to Calgary's GM Brett Trevelling.
Tree living.
Yeah, this guy overhauled Calgary's roster this offseason, bringing in guys like Noah Hannafin, Elias Lindholm, James Neal, Derek Ryan, new coach. I still think he might need to bring in a goaltender, but he saw that Calgary was still in that little bit of a funk, needing a bit of a change, and he went out and did it this offseason. And totally retooled that roster, and hopefully things will pay off for the Flames. And if that does, I think he could be a GM of the year.
Tree Living, of course, the son of Jim Tree Living, the Boston Pizza franchise owner or franchisee. But my pick is general manager Steve Yzerman of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I have a feeling he's going to find a way to tweak that roster a little bit more for another push for the Stanley Cup without giving away a lot of the future like he normally does.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's do the Calder Trophy.
All right. So this one's going to be very interesting. So I'd like to go with Elias Pettersson, just being a Canucks fan. But I think just from everything I've seen from this guy from the World Juniors, he was the first overall pick this year. I think Rasmus Dahlin is primed to have a breakout rookie season. You don't usually see defensemen win the Calder Trophy. Like Aaron Ekblad's like the only guy really in the past while that's won the Calder after that first season in the NHL. But I think Dahlin with Pettersson, and I think and Eli Tolvanen with Nashville, I think would be my top three picks.
There, of course, is going to be about 20 to 25 really good rookies that are going to run for this. I have Elias Pettersson as my winner, only because I think Buffalo's still going to have a rough season. Dahlin will be great. Casey Middlestat will be great. I had somebody talking about whether the Canucks would have a double candidate on that trophy this year if Adam Gaudette's going to step up. But it's going to be a tough trophy to win. Tolvanen is a great pick by you. And, you know, every team's got one or two guys. You think of the Rangers with Chital and Elias Anderson. It'll be interesting to watch. And I think health will play a part because obviously Brock Besser was healthy the whole season. Or if Connor McDavid was healthy the whole season when it was, you know, when it was his year for the Calder. It was something he didn't win because he got hurt. So that should be an interesting race for sure. Let's go with the Vezina Trophy.
All right. So this guy was a finalist this year, and I think he'll take it. Andrei Vasilevsky is my pick. I think both of our top 10 lists, we had him listed as the top goalie going into this year. I think this guy is incredible. I think he faced the second most shots in the NHL. Only Frederik Andersen faced more shots last year. And even as you think, as Tampa Bay, as good as they are, if you don't have that big backbone in net, you're going to have serious problems. And I think playoff success-wise, last year was huge for him, going to the third round of the playoffs, and I think he'll build off that. The only other guys I could see probably pushing him are Marc-Andre Fleury, Connor Hellebuck, and Sergei Bobrovsky.
I'm going out on a limb, and I'm going to say Connor Hellebuck is going to win the Vezina Trophy, leading the Winnipeg Jets to a fantastic season, with Vasilevsky and Frederik Andersen as runner-up, only because Andersen, I think, is going to get a ton of wins this year, playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's do the Norris Trophy.
All right. So the Norris Trophy, this is one of the most interesting things, because I think some of these guys should have won multiple Norris Trophies by now, but it's just that same thing with a lot of their awards. They like to rotate. And this year, I think Seth Jones will be the guy that wins the Norris Trophy, along with the usual names that are always there, and Doughty, Hedman, Carlson. All those guys could be pushing for it, but I think Jones, he had a huge breakout year last year, and if he continues where he left off from last season, this guy could get 60 to 70 points this year, and is that big, huge, all-around mobile defenseman for Columbus.
My pick is Drew Doughty to win the Norris Trophy, but again, there's going to be a lot of people up for this. I think Victor Hedman's going to make a case to repeat. As well, I think PK Subban might make a name to be nominated and potentially win that award. So let's go into the Prince of Wales Trophy.
All right. Yeah, so the winner of the Eastern Conference will be the Tampa Bay Lightning. As we brought up, like Steve Yzerman's put together probably the best team in the Eastern Conference, and I think they're just primed to get to that Cup final this year. There are going to be a lot of other people's favorites to go all the way, but yeah, I have them taking the East this year.
I also have Tampa Bay taking the East, with as long as they get past Toronto, because I think Toronto will make a case for that. And of course, that depends if they get through Boston. Pittsburgh and Washington, I think, will get through the Metropolitan. But again, those guys, the only way they ever win the Cup is if they beat each other at some point in the first or second round. It's going to be a long battle, but I still think Tampa Bay is going to come through. So that's our East. How about our West with the Clarence Campbell Bowl?
All right, yeah. So this has been the toughest choice. Are you going to go with Nashville or are you going to go with Winnipeg?
No, I might not go with either one of them.
No, well, I think this year, I think Nashville will return to the Stanley Cup final and win the West. I think just the same as last year, we could get another 7-game series between Winnipeg and Nashville. Though we did see the counter against that with Vegas just sweeping or basically just walking through Winnipeg in that third round, because that battle between them had been such a huge knock between the teams just because of how physical and draining that series was. But I think Nashville will push above that and win the West.
Yeah, I think Winnipeg had nothing left when they faced Las Vegas after upsetting and beating Nashville. But I, too, have Nashville winning the West. After they get through Winnipeg, they're going to have to probably go through Calgary as my crazy out there pick of the awards, because I think Calgary is going to have a really good, surprising season this year. So that leads us to the Stanley Cup. If you got Nashville and Tampa, like I do, who do you got winning the Stanley Cup this year?
I have the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the cup, probably most likely in 7 games. If you look at both of these teams and just on paper how evenly matched these guys are, I think Tampa Bay just has a little bit more offensive punch though, but Nashville is more defensively structured a whole lot better. So the series could go either way, but I'd take Tampa Bay in 7.
It can go either way because I took Nashville in 7 over Tampa Bay. And I believe, I think Nashville's defense is just too strong. They're going to shut down. They've got basically 5 really good defensemen that can play both ends of the ice, and they're going to shut down the high-powered Tampa Bay Lightning and win their first ever Stanley Cup, which leads us to the Conn Smythe Trophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Conn Smythe, since I picked Tampa Bay to win, I'm going with Nikita Kucherov as the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. This guy is a playoff performer. I think even though he was like about a point a game player, he still thought that he could give a lot more. Excuse me. Give a lot more than he did. And I think this guy could put up close to 30 points, possibly 14, 15 goals in this year's playoffs if he's on the top of his game throughout the entire playoffs.
For me, of course, Nashville I'm going with as winning the Stanley Cup. So none other than Pekka Rinne as the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. He'll see lots of shots, but a lot of those shots will be from the outside because of the great defense that's in front of him. He won't be giving up a whole lot of second opportunities. So that leads us to the Hart Trophy.
No, let's do the Ted Lindsay first. We talk about that.
Let's do the Ted Lindsay. So this is the award that the Players Association votes for the top players in the NHL.
Yeah, so mine will be probably the same as the other awards choices. Connor McDavid. This guy is literally the most exciting player to watch in the NHL. I think the only other guys that could push him are Ovechkin and Nathan MacKinnon. But I think McDavid's going to claim this trophy once again.
I also have McKinnon winning the Ted Lindsay. Sorry, not McKinnon, McDavid. Only because I think Edmonton's going to have a bit of a bounce-back year this year. They're really disappointed with the year they had last year. And a guy like McDavid will help push that team. And he is the most valuable player to his team. Which leads us to the Hart Trophy. Is your answer different than the Ted Lindsay?
No, it is the same. Though, if you go off last season where he led the NHL in points, and if you go off Edmonton, he was like their most valuable player, but it ended up being Taylor Hall, Nathan MacKinnon, and Anze Kopitar last year being nominated. And I don't think out of all those guys, I think maybe only Kopitar that you might have thought going in there could be nominated for the Hart Trophy. But yeah, this will be interesting because I have McDavid, I have McKinnon coming back, and either Kucherov or Crosby as the third nominee. But I think but it'll be interesting to see how the media votes.
Yeah.
If Edmonton doesn't make the playoffs again, if that hurts McDavid, but I still think he should win it this year.
And I think that's the reason why he didn't win it last year is they didn't make the playoffs. But I also have Connor McDavid winning the Hart Trophy with guys like Sidney Crosby and Nathan MacKinnon pushing from behind. I think Crosby's going to have an outstanding season this year and will push McDavid for that scoring title. Because, of course, Pittsburgh's only thing on their mind is getting back to winning the Stanley Cup. So watch for them. They had a long off season, which is rare for them. So they're going to come back and have a great season, I think, this year. Any other awards that we missed, or are we good?
There are a couple, but nothing really that important.
Minor ones.
Yeah, it's only like the Jennings Trophy, but I think with that, it'd either be Nashville with Pekka Rinne or Tampa Bay with Andrei Vasilevsky would be the big two.
Yeah.
And then the Mark Messier Award, which is just basically best leadership on and off the ice. But with that, it could go to a handful of guys.
Captain Roberto Luongo, of course, one of the winners. No, I'm kidding. Well, that's our episode. That's our show for today, guys. Remember to let us know what you think is going to happen this upcoming season. Let us know if you like our picks for the upcoming awards. Remember, it's a long season. There's a lot of possibilities for these awards. So let us know who you like. Let us know what you thought of our picks. Leave your comments. Remember to like our page, share our page, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Thanks again for watching B&B Hockey Talk. We will not be on the air tomorrow, but we'll be back with you on Friday and the opening day of Canucks Prospect Camp up in Penticton. So we're really looking forward to it, and I'm sure you all are too. So thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching. Have a fantastic evening, and we will see you guys all on Friday.